In the halls of Shuiliandong, newly returned from the depth of the Eastern Sea, Wukong demonstrated the might of his newfound weapon, Ru Yijinggu Bang. With a single command, the golden cudgel soared into the heavens and plunged into the depths of hell, a spectacle that struck awe and fear into the hearts of all creatures on the mountain, who swiftly came to pay their respects, acknowledging Wukong's formidable might. One peaceful afternoon after a grand feast, Wukong rested under the cool shade of a pine tree, drifting off into a deep sleep while being guarded by 4 generals. Yet, in the realm of dreams, a chilling scene unfolded. 2 spectral figures approached, bearing a scroll with the name Sun Wukong written upon it. Silently, they bound Wukong's soul with chains and began a grim march towards their destination, hell. They walked until they reached a foreboding city. Upon the city wall was the inscription, Yumingji, the world of darkness. They had arrived in the domain of the kings of hell. Arriving at the gates, the ghostly escorts declared that Wukong's time in the world above was at an end, his soul summoned to hell by divine decree. But Wukong, ever defiant, declared his transcendence over the 3 realms, arguing that his cultivation had lifted him beyond the cycle of reincarnation and beyond the control of the kings of hell. Disregarding him, the escorts persisted, dragging him towards the city's ghostly gates. In a flare of fury, Wukong pulled out his weapon, Jingu Bang, and with a mere flick of his wrist, the escorts were obliterated. Freed from his chains, Wukong stormed into the city, his presence so terrifying that even ox-headed and horse-faced demons scattered in panic. The upheaval reached the 10 kings of hell, who emerged from their palaces in haste, only to find themselves face to face with the enraged Monkey King. Wukong declared himself the heaven-born sage of the Water Curtain Cave, an immortal whose lifespan was equal to that of the heavens itself. The kings pleaded for mercy, attributing this incident to a clerical error in the celestial ledgers. They declared that it must be another with the same name as Wukong who was due to die. Wukong demanded to inspect these ledgers, known as the Register of Life and Death, upon which the destiny and lifespan of all mortal creatures were recorded. Within these ancient tomes, Wukong discovered his destiny. He was recorded as the heaven-born stone monkey, with an allotted lifespan of 342 years, at the end of which he was to die a good death. In a defiant stroke, Wukong erased not only his own name, but the names of all his monkey brethren, liberating them all from death and the grasp of the Underworld. Triumphant yet weary, Wukong left the city, but as he walked, he stumbled over a clump of grass. This tumble threw him into wakefulness, right back to the mortal realm. It was all a dream, or so it seemed. As he stretched, his guards asked about the extent of his wine drinking, because he had slept for a very long time. To them, Wukong's physical body had simply slept, while his soul fought its way out of the underworld. The dreamlike ordeal was indeed very real, and from that day forth, the monkeys of Hua Guoshan ceased to age or die, having had their fates unbound from the ledgers of life and death. This dream adventure, vivid and profound, marked a new era of liberty for Wukong and his kin, as they were forever freed from the shackles of so-called celestial decree. Meanwhile, in the celestial realm above, news of Wukong's adventures had spread and had reached the ears of the Jade Emperor, Yu Huangdadi, the ruler of the cosmos. Stirred by tales of Wukong's adventures in the Dragon Palace and the Underworld, a decision of great importance was being discussed by the highest-ranking heavens officials. After much discussion, it was decided that rather than provoking the wrath of this powerful creature, the heavenly court would bind him to their will by offering him a place among them, hoping to channel his formidable powers for their own purposes. Thus, Tai Bai Jinxing, the venerable advisor to the Jade Emperor, descended upon Hua Guoshan atop a golden cloud, announcing Wukong's new position in the heavenly court. He invited Wukong to ascend to the heavens with him. This invitation filled the Monkey King with pride and joy, for he had long wanted to cross to the celestial domain. The heavens was a magnificent realm wrapped in golden clouds and celestial splendor. So beautifully surreal, yet it was ruled under a hierarchical system, much like the mortal governments of the earthly realm. Not a single speck of dust touched this place. All appeared pure and divine, yet it too was filled with intrigue and politics. The gates of this heavenly empire gleamed with the luster of celestial glass and precious jade, guarded by heavenly generals clad in armor that shone like the sun. Here, Wukong was led into the very heart of divine power. Here, he stood boldly where others bowed, his defiance stirring whispers among the immortal officials. The Jade Emperor, seeing Wukong's lack of court etiquette, declared his ignorance excusable, attributing it to his origins in the mortal realm. Amid the assembly of gods, the question of Wukong's role in the heavenly court was raised. With all significant positions currently occupied, only the title of Royal Master of the Horse remained, and so that was the position given to Wukong. Captivated by the majesty of the celestial horses he was to oversee, Wukong embraced his new duties with vigor, greatly enhancing the splendor of these magnificent creatures. Yet, less than a month later, the true nature of his position was revealed. During a meal with other celestial officials, Wukong asked them what his position was among their ranks. The other officials replied that his ranking was so low, it was not considered a part of their ranking system. What Wukong had perceived as a role of honor was in fact a position of little esteem, a revelation that humiliated him and ignited a raging storm. Realizing the deception, Wukong's jovial demeanor quickly darkened to one of defiance. He, the revered king of Hua Guoshan, reduced to a mere keeper of horses. The insult was more than he could bear. With a fury that matched the tempests of the high heavens, Wukong stormed out of the celestial gates. His departure was unchecked, as no one dared to stop him. The Monkey King returned to his kingdom of Hua Guoshan, and to his surprise, 10 mortal years had drifted by while he had only spent a few weeks in the heavens. His loyal subjects leapt with joy at his return and feasted in celebration. However, their celebration was shattered by the sudden approach of a heavenly army sent by the Jade Emperor. The Emperor was not pleased. Wukong had left the heavens without permission, angering the gods. Clad in golden armor, Wukong stepped forth, standing defiantly before the formidable army. The heavenly generals demanded his surrender, threatening death if he did not obey. But Wukong stood unyielding. He was wronged by the heavens that used his powers, while offering him nothing but deception. In a bold challenge, Wukong pointed to the banners fluttering high above Hua Guoshan. On them were written the words, Qi Tianda Sheng, the great sage equaling heaven. He proclaimed that unless granted this title of respect and power, he would storm the heavens and topple the Jade Emperor's domain. The battle that followed was like none other in mythology. The heavenly generals were all masters of magical weapons, but even the mighty Naja, a legendary warrior in his own right, could not subdue Wukong. As the dust settled without a victor, rather than continue fighting, the Celestial Court once again decided to appease Wukong. They agreed to Wukong's demands and bestowed upon him the title of the Great Sage, Heaven's Equal, along with a higher rank in their court. But once again, this would all be for show, as Wukong would not have any real authorities in the heavens. Summoned once again to the celestial realm, Wukong was given charge over the sacred longevity peaches, a task seemingly fitting, yet fraught with temptations for him. Grown only in the celestial orchards, These peaches were no ordinary fruits. They were a great source of power and immortality for the gods. Each peach could extend one's lifespan by centuries and grant powers that would otherwise take years to cultivate. The smallest of the peaches could turn a man immortal, and the largest could grant a life as enduring as the heaven and earth themselves. Ye, the god of land, guided Wukong through the garden of eternal fruits, explaining to him the nature of these divine treasures. The smallest peaches would take 3,000 years to grow. The largest peaches would take 9,000 years to ripen, making them rare and precious even to immortals, for whom years seem to fly by in minutes. Despite being considered immortals, the truth is, not even the gods possessed everlasting life in this world. For even the heaven and earth have a predestined fate to end one day, making these peaches an important source of power for the Jade Emperor. The gods were bound to his service as long as they were reliant on these peaches for their power and longevity. These sweet treasures were a subtle chain that bound even celestial beings to obedience. One day, as Wukong wandered between the lush rows of the peach garden, he discovered a bounty of ripe peaches. Being a monkey, these were his favorite treats, and at last he gave in to the temptations. For days he feasted, unaware of the consequences. One day, Wang Mu Nyang Nyang, the heavenly empress, commanded her 7 fairy attendants to harvest some peaches for the grand longevity peach banquet, where esteemed gods will come from all across the land to receive their share of longevity peaches. The fairies went into the orchard, seeking Wukong's permission to pick some peaches, only to find that the best of the fruits had already been taken. They were unable to find Wukong, for he had shrunk himself down to a minuscule size and was napping upon a tree branch. The fairies thought that because the heavenly empress herself had sent them, they should be able to pick some peaches without any issues. As soon as one of the fairies pulled upon a ripe peach, Wukong appeared. He was startled awake by the fairies attempting to pluck the last of the precious peaches. Quick to defend his orchard, he confronted them with his weapon in hand. The fairies explained their mission, but to Wukong's dismay, they did not know if he was invited to the upcoming banquet. Wukong, cunning and quick, with a flick of magic left the fairies frozen. A ploy to buy himself some time, as he left to see if his name was on the banquet guest list. While on his way to the banquet hall, Wukong encountered the barefoot immortal, who was invited to the longevity peach banquet and was just making his way there. Seizing this opportunity, Wukong spun a tale, claiming the Jade Emperor had summoned everyone to gather at his palace before the banquet. Perhaps even immortals enjoyed a pre-party gathering, as the barefoot immortal believed Wukong's story and detoured to the Jade Emperor's palace. With him out of the way, Wukong transformed into the barefoot immortal and proceeded towards the banquet. Even from afar, the scent of heavenly wine that flowed like jade nectar wafted through the air, drawing him in. Upon arriving, Wukong concocted another trick. Pulling hairs from his head, he transformed them into sleepy bugs. These critters quickly lulled the banquet servants into a deep slumber, clearing the path for Wukong's indulgence. Wukong feasted on the divine food and guzzled the celestial wine, savouring every heavenly flavour. Though the wine clouded his senses, he retained just enough clarity to realise the trouble he would be in if found. Deciding to retreat back to his own palace, his escape took a wayward turn, and he found himself at the residence of Taishang Laojun, a revered immortal known for crafting xiandan, magical pills imbued with the power to bestow longevity and immense power. Curiosity getting the better of him, Wukong discovered a gourd filled with xiandan, intended for the Jade Emperor himself. Temptation overwhelmed him once again, and he ate not one, but all the golden pills, leaving none behind. As the intoxicating effects of the wine faded, the gravity of his actions dawned on him. He was truly courting disaster now. Realizing the extent of his mischief, Wukong hastened back to Huaguoshan on his golden nimbus cloud, pondering the consequences that awaited him. Stay tuned for our next video where we'll uncover the fallout of Wukong's heavenly adventures.